So good evening to all of you. Today we are going to start with meiosis. Just like mitosis, first we'll start with the very basics and then we'll continue. Meiosis is not like mitosis overall. Meiosis is divided into two separate phases, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Okay. Stage 1 of meiosis is also called as the reductional division. Why? Because the diploid cell is going to be reduced to give rise to two haploid cells. Okay, जो 2n cell होता है वो 2n से अभी हो जाएगा n. Okay, so the two new cells that are formed will have only one entire set of chromosomes. In the second stage, this n is going to duplicate to 2n and then split to give rise to two new cells. So basically from one cell of meiosis 1, you get two cells. So therefore this is called as equational division. So at the end of stage 2, that is once we are finished with meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, we get 4 haploid cells which are nothing but our gametes. So if you look at here clearly, chromosome have duplicated once. That is at the end step of meiosis 1. They duplicate, but cell has divided twice. So the 4 haploid cells that are formed are nothing but our gametes. In case of males, sperms. In case of females, ovum. Now when we talk about a normal human being, we know that all of us are going to have diploid gametes, diploid cells. Okay, so female is going to be 2n, male is going to be 2n. If our cells did not undergo meiosis, then the next generation would have been 2n plus 2n, 4n. So obviously that is something very abnormal. That is the reason why our reproductive cells, also called as germ cells, undergo meiosis and give rise to haploid gametes. Now if you look here, n plus n is going to give us 2n, that is a diploid zygote on fertilization. So meiosis is the reason where eukaryotic cells are capable of sexual reproduction because the total chromosome number reduces to half. Also, meiosis is responsible to give so much diversity that we have around us. Meiosis 1, just like mitosis, is divided into two phases, karyokinesis and cytokinesis. But here we are talking about meiosis 1, therefore we write it as karyokinesis 1, cytokinesis 1. Karyokinesis 1 similarly divided into 4 phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase. You just have to remember we are talking about meiosis 1, therefore you write it as prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1 and telophase 1. When we talk about prophase 1, it is obviously going to be a longer process and it is a complex one when you compare it with the mitosis prophase. Why is it longer and complex? Because here even prophase 1 is divided into 5 substages. The 5 substages are leptotene, zygotene, pachytene, diplotene and dikinesis. I repeat, leptotene, zygotene, pachytene, diplotene and dikinesis. So let us focus on the first one, meiosis 1 and prophase 1. We are going to study about leptotene. And just like mitosis, here as well, the chromatin fibers will start to condense. Okay. So the chromatin fiber will condense, giving rise to long, thin, thread-like chromosomes. जैसे माइटोसिस में पूरा कंडेंसेशन हो जाता था या कंसिडरेबल कंडेंसेशन हो जाता था इन प्रोफेज 1, यहां पर नहीं होता है. दे आर स्टिल गोइंग टू अपीयर थिन लॉन्ग थ्रेड लाइक क्रोमोसोम्स. In the second step, that is zygote, the homologous chromosome will come close to each other. Homologous मतलब जो एक क्रोमोसोम का पेयर होता है, those chromosomes are going to come close to each other. This pairing is called as synapsis, and at this stage they are not clearly visible with their sister chromatids. Then we come to the third step, that is packaging. Here the sister chromatids now are visible, that is condensation has now become more better, and at this step crossing over takes place. Basically consider you and me as a chromosome. So if we have a handshake, that is going to be called as a crossing over. Okay, so the two arms are going to overlap between two different chromosomes, that is two different non-sister chromatids. Then there is going to be an exchange, that is recombination is going to take place between the non-sister chromatid, and this happens in the Pachytene stage of prophase 1. Now because of this change, now the information on the chromosome is going to be slightly different than the previous generation. This is the reason why generation after generation there are some variations that are seen with the young ones. Then we go to diplotin, where after the exchange of material, the recombined sister chromatids will now start to repel. Basically, they start to move apart to the opposite pole of the nucleus. And at this stage, nuclear membrane and nucleolus will start to disappear. Dikinesis, they have completely reached. Condensation complete हो गया है. सेंट्रियोल्स डुप्लीकेट हो चुके हैं. न्यूक्लियर मेम्ब्रेन न्यूक्लियोलस डिसअपियर हो चुके हैं. स्पिंडल फाइबर्स will now begin to appear. So this is the entire stage of prophase 1. To remember this, I will give you a short story. Consider you meet your cousin in a wedding. You both are homologous chromosomes. Okay. So when you meet each other, when you see each other, you are going to come close to each other. Then you are going to have a formal handshake. You will exchange information, then start moving apart once you are done. And that is how our prophase 1 here ends. So I repeat once again the entire thing. Prophase 1, it is a typically longer process. It is a complex one when we compare it to mitosis, because it is divided into 5 substages: leptotene, zygotene, pachytene, diplotin, and dikinesis. In the first step, leptotene, the chromatin fiber is going to condense and form thin, long thread-like chromosomes. In the second stage, that is zygotene, the homologous chromosomes are going to come close to each other. Basically, you and your brother come close to each other to talk. At this stage, the chromatids are not visible at this stage. They are going to start to condense more better. Then you come to pachytene, where exchange of information is going to happen between the non-sister chromatids. Basically handshake, जिसको हम scientific term में बोलते हैं crossing over, is going to happen. With crossing over, obviously there is going to be exchange of information, जिसको हम बोलते हैं recombination between the non-sister chromatids. This recombination is the reason for variations over generations. In the fourth step, diplotin, once the information is exchanged, recombination is done. The recombined sister chromatids are going to repel, that is, they are going to go away from each other. Nuclear membrane and nucleolus at this stage is going to start to disappear. In the last stage of prophase 1, that is dikinesis, chromosomes have condensed completely, they have shortened now. Nuclear membrane, nucleolus completely disappears. Centriole has duplicated and reached the opposite poles, and spindle fibers will begin to appear. Now we start with the second phase, that is the metaphase. In metaphase 1, all the chromosomes are going to get organized along the equatorial plane of the cell, just like mitosis. Once they are arranged, spindle fibers are going to be formed. They are going to pass through the centromere of these chromosomes. Then we talk about anaphase 1, where the spindle fibers will contract, therefore pull these two sets of chromosome to the opposite poles. Now, because of this, what will happen? जो वो 2n क्रोमोसोम थे, जिसमें से एक सेट पूरा लेफ्ट साइड ऑफ द इक्वेटोरियल प्लेन पे था, एक सेट पूरा राइट साइड ऑफ द इक्वेटोरियल प्लेन पे था, that is now going to split and form two different set of chromosomes. So when we talk about the end of anaphase, we can say that the total number of chromosome is going to split to n number of chromosome at each pole. मतलब जो 46 क्रोमोसोम थे सेल में, उसमें से अभी पोल्स, दोनों पोल्स पे 23 क्रोमोसोम्स होंगे. I repeat, out of the 46 chromosome that cell had, two sets will be formed of 23 each, which are going to reach the opposite poles of the cell. Then we come to telophase 1. Here as well, the homologous chromosomes are going to uncoil. Therefore, they will form chromatin fibers. Spindle fiber is going to disappear. Nuclear membrane, nucleolus will reappear. And that is how our karyokinesis will end. Karyokinesis, we've seen, it is divided into 4 stages: prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. Now we start with cytokinesis 1, where if it is an animal cell, a notch is going to be formed, which will gradually deepen and give rise to two daughter cells. But here the two daughter cells are going to have haploid chromosomes, that is 23 chromosomes only. Now between meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, there is going to be a very short phase where the cell is going to rest. Basically, the cell will not divide here, जिसको हम बोलते हैं interkinesis. Then meiosis 2, which is again divided into 4 stages: prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, and telophase 2. Both haploid daughter cells will undergo meiosis 2, which is exactly same like mitosis. So you can write that entire answer here completely. The chromosome will duplicate, then there will be prophase 1 where they will be condensing. Nuclear membrane, nucleolus will start to disappear. Then there will be metaphase, condensation is complete, and everything that is written with respect to mitosis. So end of meiosis 2, you get 4 total haploid gametes. That is, in case of males, you will get sperms. In case of females, you will get ovum. And here, meiosis plays a very important role. Recombination basically plays a very important role. because both of these are responsible for production of haploid gametes or spores, which is important for sexual reproduction. Genetic recombinations have also been a reason for evolution and the variation that we see around us in people. So we have finished chapter number 2. Now we'll start with concepts of chapter number 3. The three very important concepts of reproductive systems overall. So let's start with sexual reproduction in human beings. Now we all know the chromosome in male and in female. Okay, in women it is going to be 44 plus XX, and in men it is going to be 44 plus XY. Reproductive system with that specific organ will develop only and only due to the last set of chromosomes, which are called as sex chromosome or called as allosomes. X chromosome is present in X chromosomes is present in men and women both, whereas Y chromosome is present only in men. Let's talk about the human male reproductive system. It is divided into three parts. One is the testes, two is ducts, and three are the glands. So when we talk about the testes first, these testes are present in the scrotum, that is outside the abdominal cavity. It is a small sac, and the testes contain various seminiferous tubules. Now when we talk about seminiferous tubules, it consists of germinal epithelium. Basically, this is the place where the cells are going to undergo meiosis and produce our germ cells. Therefore, the name germinal epithelium. Now, when the sperms are formed in the germinal epithelium, we need to understand the entire pathway out of the male reproductive system. So the ones that are formed through the germinal epithelium will be first passed to the rete testis, and these are going to be extremely immature sperms. Okay, that is, they will not be capable of fertilization. From rete testis, they are pushed into the vas efferens, then into the epididymis. Now, from the epididymis, it is further pushed into the vas deferens, into the ejaculatory duct, and finally into the urinogenital duct. Now, as the sperms are pushed forward from one duct to the next, they become more mature and at the end stage will be capable of fertilizing the ovum, that is forming a zygote. Now, when we talk about these glands obviously produce their secretions. The seminal vesicles will produce or release their secretions into the ejaculatory duct. Prostate gland and Cowper's gland are going to release their secretions into the urinogenital duct. When we talk about semen, that is the mixture of sperm and the secretions from the glands, that entire compound is called as semen. This semen is going to be ejaculated out through the penis. All the organs that male reproductive system has are paired, that is two in number, except three things. Number one is the urinogenital duct, number two is the penis, and number three is the scrotum sac. When we talk about the epididymis, it is an extremely long tube which length can be up to 6 meters, and one sperm will measure only up to 60 micrometers. So for such a small sperm to pass through the entire distance of 6.5 meters, it is a very, very long process, and that is the reason that it gets matured when it is traveling through this distance. Sperm obviously travels through this much amount of distance in the male reproductive system first, and then when it is released into the female reproductive system, it has to travel to the ovum as well. So obviously it is going to require a lot of energy. For this purpose, fructose is present in the semen. Now we'll talk about the female reproductive system. Now when we talk about the human female reproductive system, all the organs are present in the abdominal cavity. It is not like in males that it is outside the abdominal cavity. The parts of female reproductive system are, it has a pair of ovaries, a pair of oviducts, uterus, and the vagina. Along with this, it also has a pair of Bartholin's gland, which are responsible for producing certain secretions. Every month, one ovum is going to be released in the abdominal cavity alternately from each ovary. The free end of the oviduct is going to be funnel-like. Basically, this is the place from where the ovum that is released goes to the uterus. So the opening that is present at the funnel-like oviduct is going to be the entry point of ovum. Once oocyte enters the oviduct, it is going to be pushed forward with the help of cilia that are present on the surface of oviduct. When we talk about gamete formation, both the gametes, that is sperm and ovum, are produced by meiosis. Sperms are going to be produced from the beginning of puberty till the death. But in case of women, at the time of birth itself, they are going to have 2 to 4 million immature oocytes. Now, please students, do not get confused between ovum and oocytes. Ovum is the mature form, oocyte is the immature form. Okay. So at the time of birth itself, the female fetus is going to have 2 to 4 million immature oocytes. An oocyte will mature and is released from the ovary every month from the beginning of maturity, just like in males. And it is going to go up to the age of menopause, that is somewhere about 45 years of age. Menopause is basically stoppage of the functioning of the female reproductive system, that is it loses the capacity to give birth to a new young one. Secretion of the hormones that control the functions also will become irregular, or it will stop, and this causes menopause. Basically, the menstrual cycle is going to come to a stop or halt. Approximately only 400 oocytes are released up till the age of menopause, and the remaining ones will undergo degeneration in the body itself. Oocytes that are released during the end of the menopause, that is nearing the age of menopause, are 40 to 50 years old. That is why their ability of division has now reduced, or it has diminished. Due to this, what happens? They cannot complete the meiotic divisions properly and can lead to abnormalities. So abnormalities like Down syndrome, Klinefelter's or Turner syndrome can be a possibility because of reproduction or because of giving birth to a baby very near to the menopausal stage. Now we go to the last part for today, that is the menstrual cycle. Now female reproductive system undergoes certain changes as soon as they hit puberty. That is, the female is mature and now will be capable of fertilization or will be capable of producing offsprings. And those changes are going to be repeated at a interval of 28 to 30 days. These repetitive changes are going to be called as the menstrual cycle. This is a natural process which is controlled by 4 different hormones. First is the follicle stimulating hormone. Second is luteinizing hormone. Third is estrogen. Fourth is progesterone. When we talk about the follicle stimulating hormone, it is going to be responsible for production or development of an oocyte. Okay, follicle is basically a small pit-like structure inside which the oocyte is going to be there, and under the effect of follicle stimulating hormone, oocyte is going to start and develop. Basically, it is going to slowly go from immature stage to the mature one. Now, when this oocyte is developing, it is going to secrete estrogen. That is, the follicle that is developing is going to secrete estrogen. एस्ट्रोजन के वजह से क्या होता है, तो लेयर ऑफ ब्लड called as the endometrium is going to start to develop on the walls of the uterus. I repeat, endometrium will either regenerate or it is going to develop for the very first time. Meanwhile, the developing follicle will complete its development. Under the effect of the second hormone, that is the luteinizing hormone, oocyte is going to be released. Okay, so the follicle will burst open and the oocyte will be released. This process is called as ovulation. Okay, oocyte being released called as ovulation. The remaining tissue after the burst of the follicle forms the corpus luteum, which is responsible for secretion of progesterone. Okay, जो remaining tissue था follicle के फूटने के बाद, it forms the corpus luteum and is responsible for secretion of progesterone. Now the endometrial glands under the effect of progesterone are going to make that endometrium layer ready for implantation. That is, the layer of blood is now going to thicken a little to give a soft cushioning to the coming zygote or to the coming embryo. If the oocyte is not fertilized within 24 hours, that is, when it enters the oviduct and it reaches the uterus, in between that, inside the oviduct, if it is not fertilized, then the corpus luteum will become inactive and therefore convert or transform into corpus albicans. Due to this, secretion of estrogen and progesterone will completely stop. Endometrium will start to degenerate because both progesterone and estrogen are absent. The degenerating endometrium, the unfertilized ovum, which is of no use to the body, will be discarded out through the vagina. This is going to be accompanied with continuous bleeding, and this process is called as menstruation. Unless the oocyte is fertilized and an embryo is implanted, ये process non-stop month after month होता रहेगा. And if the embryo is implanted, basically if fertilization happens, an embryo is formed and it gets implanted to the endometrium, then the menstrual cycle is going to temporarily stop. Till when? So till the baby is given birth and when the mother is feeding the baby, the menstrual cycle is going to remain as stopped. Menstrual cycle is a natural process and women will experience extreme pain during this period. Severe weakness is also going to be a symptom because of heavy bleeding, and also there is a higher possibility of infection during this period. So due to all such reasons, there is a very high need to take care of the personal hygiene, and therefore all the needful things should be done. So that is all for today's lecture. We are done with 4 very important concepts considering LP 1 and 2, that is chapter number 2 and 3. I hope all of you have understood everything till here.